welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Daniel Gray. I work with AtScale. We are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDOIQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Anish Gandhi. He's the managing director at Glassdoor. Anish, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. Yeah, I work as an analytics director at Glassdoor with around 15 years of experience in the world of engineering, analytics, information systems, and primarily focus on building the analytics platform and driving data analytics for B2B space at Glassdoor for the entire go-to-market. That includes sales, marketing, customer success. That's what I do right now.
So what have you found is an effective model for organizing teams to deliver self-service data and analytics in the enterprise?
So the number one thing, what it matters is the scaling and automation part. That is the only way to be successful to drive the analytics within the organization. If you don't have a scalable and an automated analytics platform to drive the analytics, it's not going to work, because eventually there will be transformation happening, system changes happening, business strategy changes happening. And if you don't pivot around quickly, it's going to not be successful. That's where I feel that scaling and automation is the most effective way to drive out analytics in the organization.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, self-service is where folks want to go. If you can ask the questions, then and you can ask them quickly, and then your system's able to adopt and adapt and basically do it in an automatic fashion, then you basically enable that.
Another example of a self-service is more of, think of like creating a data buffet, basically in a scalable fashion, where every user can pick whatever they want, and basically just subscribe to it or just have a push notification that on a daily, weekly, or on a monthly basis, they get the information they want in an automated fashion. They don't have to go out and look for information. Information comes automatically to them. And that is only possible if you have scalable and automated platform, So that's why I was pushing more for that.
Yeah, I mean, and you tie it all back in together. You're going to make your best investment in the people that you want. Now enable them to be able to ask the questions that they want to ask.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. All right, and where do you see AI and machine learning going in the future for enterprises?
So AI and ML is definitely one area where the adoption and engagement is increasing every day, to be very honest. Okay. But I think it varies from organization to organization in the maturity of the organization, and what's the buy-in at the executive level. So, for example, a sales leader, right, they might go with guts compared to a marketing leader who might go with more of the AI ML adoption, thinking that way, depending on the business and the nature of the data, whether it's transactional or it's more of a B2B perspective. So that's one area. But I do think that the adoption and engagement will increase with time, for sure. But again, the culture has to be, and the buy-in has to be more of a top-down push. If the top-down leaders are not agreed or don't have the buy-in and the push, then it's not going to happen. So it's all about the buy-in at the top level, and then definitely it can happen. But maturity and the adoption is the number one thing of the organization, how you can get it done.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. I've worked with a lot of companies, and depending on their maturity, were they able to actually get a model into production versus, just, testing and building models. So I think that's spot on.
I have tried in my previous career quite a lot, very heavily, and I failed because the adoption and the buy-in was not at the top level. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen it, but once you get that buy-in though, and you can actually get ROI off those models, then it goes back to what you said earlier. People start to trust the data.
Exactly.
And speaking of ROI, how do you measure ROI to justify investments in data and analytics?
If you ask my opinion, we want to have measures where you can really quantify it, So the number one measure is the traffic, the usage, because once you start building the analytics platform, how many users are accessing the platform on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to manage their team, to manage their business, to manage their performances. That is one of the number one ROI. Okay? Then, and keep an eye, are the number of ad hoc requests reducing over a period of time or not? Because we want more generalized, more standardized analytics available across the businesses, and reduce the number of requests for siloed kind of analysis where people just wishy-washy list they have and they ask for it rather than focusing on what's available and let's use what's there right now. So that's one of the number one ROI for me. And second thing is the noise. The noise is always the biggest problem for any analytics environment. If you have a lot of noise from data, fire drills, discrepancies, etc., and if that reduces also over a period of time, if you are able to measure that how many exchange requests or some noise coming across the way, and if that you're able to offset that noise, that itself is a big win as well, thinking that way. And the third biggest ROI is when the company is growing, and if you have a scalable analytics platform, if the numbers of users are added more and more, you don't have to add additional resources for analytics because the systems is already built out in a scalable fashion. So whether it's if you have a company of size of 2,000 people and if you're growing 50%, 100%, 200% next 3 to 4 years, is the scaling is already done. So it's more about just, it doesn't matter. So that's where the biggest ROI comes in. As the companies grows and scale, you don't have to increase your operational costs or the cost of adding more people to the analytics or operations squad. That's where I think the biggest ROI comes in over a period of time.
Awesome. Well, Anish, thank you very much for joining me. And it's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Likewise.
And, for folks out there that are listening, please visit the cdomagazine.tech for, any additional interviews.